It's not good enough. Bongine and them need to be saying, we need more specific detail. Who, what, when, where, and why. Why did you start off doing it and then stop? And why did you only do this? Why did you deviate when it came to minor one, the critical witness? Welcome to the Only Male Cruise Show, the podcast. I am the only male cruise. Be sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe, replay gang, leave a comment. You know I want to hear from you. Copyright disclaimer regarding fair use is in full effect. The views and opinions expressed in this show, you guessed it, they're all mine. Let's go to work. All right. Welcome to the Only Male Cruise Show, the podcast. I am the only male cruise. Be sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe, replay gang, leave a comment. You know I want to hear from you. All right. The title of today's show, AUSA Krull, Bring That Ass. AUSA Krull has been subpoenaed. All right. Shout out to number one mod, Baby Shay. Girl, I appreciate you so much. We got Carolyn Marie in the house. Thank you for pulling up as well. I'm here, but I'm putting you on the TV. That's what's up, girl. Look, Mom, I'm on TV. Shout out to Aretha Johnson, girl. Thanks for pulling up. Ain't seen you in a minute. Look, y'all. Thank y'all. Okay? Period. Point blank. Because I know everybody's covering this case, and I appreciate y'all pulling up to hear what I got to say about it. Now, here is what's up. I said it earlier today when I was talking about the motion, that it just wasn't good enough. It pissed me off this morning. And clearly, it has Derrel and Nem's attorney a little pissed off too, okay? To the point where now we are going to see Angel Krull in court August 15th. She has been subpoenaed. But let's get into this motion. Now this I am going to read verbatim because once again, Derrel's attorney is getting down with the get down. So let's get started. While long on self-aggrandizement and indignation, the government's response to Derrel's motion is woefully short on both substance and evidence. The government indignantly decries what they call a fishing expedition into possible government misconduct, but provides neither affidavit nor agent report to support a single factual claim that they make. Apparently, because they are the government, they believe that this court can simply take their word for it. Unfortunately for them, the law does not work like that. United States versus White says, rejecting the prosecutor's request that the court take his word that the evidence was not favorable to the defendants because it would effectively permit the government to ride roughshod over the accused, stripping the accused of both sword and shield. United States versus Buziak says, holding that when a defendant establishes that the sought-after discovery is material, the district court should not merely defer to government assertions that the discovery would be fruitless. And that's basically what the government said when they responded to Derrel's motion coming out the gate. The government does not say in its response that it does not possess the material necessary to comply with Derrel's discovery request. Instead, the government insists that they should not have to because they believe that they have the authority to simply say that the government actors did nothing wrong and thereby prevent further inquiry. The age-old problem of the fox in the henhouse may be lost on the government, but it remains clear as day before this court. The government does not get to fiat that its officers and agents did nothing wrong and thereby prevent any actual facts and evidence from being disclosed. That is because the prosecutor's role must transcend that of an adversary. They are the representative not of an ordinary part to a controversy, but a sovereignty whose interest in a criminal prosecution is not that it shall be a case, but that justice shall be done. That's your job, government, to pursue justice. And we've seen from the New York case and what the Illinois prosecutors are trying to do, it's really not a pursuit of justice. It is notable that the government makes no effort to demonstrate the lack of misconduct by AUSA Krull with evidence, which would be easy to do if there were none. Instead, they hide behind the hollow claim that they should not have to provide any evidence in response at all, and that their bare explanations without evidentiary support should be accepted. The government apparently hopes that this court will be so impressed by their august status as government actors that it will not require them to provide any evidentiary explanation whatsoever for what any rational person with common sense would call obviously inappropriate and questionable behavior. One can only imagine how the government would respond if a criminal defendant took on a fake name and a surreptitious email account and used it to contact potential witnesses. Let me go to the chat and see what y'all talking about. I'm so happy for Derrel's attorney. Papoose is in the house. Papoose, I will drop the link for you to pull up here, girl. Just say, yeah, Mel, drop the link, because I'd love to have you come up here, especially for this one. Let me see what we got going on. Tiffany J40, thanks, girl. You starting to be a regular around here, and I appreciate that. If you would like to, okay. Thanks for that, baby. She appreciates you. Papoose said, oh, Lord, hot diggity dog. Girl, ain't that the truth? Tell me to drop the link, Papoose. Let me see. Linda Alexander, hello. All right. Yeah, they did try Carolyn. Girl, you know they tried it. Lord, have mercy. All right. When he declared he did nothing wrong or that he does not intend to call the witness after the communication is over, does anyone think the government gladly would accept his affirmation? If a criminal defendant texted a vital witness with a strangely familiar or intimate identifier in his phone and kept secret the content of his discussions, would the government say that this is perfectly fine and bears no further evidence or inquiry? Obviously not. The government is not entitled to any more special treatment than they would give to anyone else, and Derrel will not let them claim otherwise. In sum, the government responds to evidence that any reasonable person would identify as mysterious, unprofessional, and obviously outside the bounds of what is expected from a conscientious assistant U.S. attorney who was following standard procedures by saying, in essence, we should not have to provide evidence. We need not explain ourselves. If we simply say without affidavit or report that a thing is permissible, then it is. We the government. Unfortunately for the government, there is no divine command theory of jurisprudence. A thing is not permissible just because they say so. And when their actions suggest bias and elicit communications with witnesses, they need to respond with evidence just like everybody else. The Supreme Court has long held that to ensure that justice is done, it is imperative to the function of courts that compulsory process be available for the production of evidence needed either by the prosecution or by the defense. That is what Derrel asks this court to do now, to ensure a fair and just trial by compelling the government to produce evidence that they do not deny they have, and it's clearly relevant to Derrel's defense. So let's get into this Jim DeGrotis communications. Now I'm checking this chat real quick to see if Papoose said, yeah, drop the link. Oh, Papoose. I have to catch your evening show. I'm still at work. Okay, no problem, girl. Appreciate it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. Y'all hit the like button, share, subscribe if you haven't already. All right. Jim DeGrotis and his communications. The government has found themselves in a precarious position wherein the email communications between AUSA Krull and Jim DeGrotis, the government's explanation for these communications, and DeGrotis's recollection of what transpired all seem at odds. Their response to Derrel's motion to compel creates more questions and concerns than answers regarding the information sought. What ought to be grounded in actual evidence, such as an affidavit, is wholly absent from their response and instead replaced with collusionary statements to which the government would obviously object if it were ever provided by the defense. In essence, what they're saying is the government is saying we can do it, but they wouldn't let the defense do it. And we know they wouldn't. The documentary evidence makes clear that it was AUSA Krull that reached out to Jim DeGrotis. In her first email to DeGrotis, it was AUSA Krull as Demetrius Slovaneski thanking him for speaking with her that day. She goes on to say that DeGrotis can send her the manuscript at this email address, Pied Piper 312, suggesting that the need to use a covert email had already been discussed during the previous undocumented conversation. No one who was contacted out of the blue by a reporter starts a conversation with, "Thanks for speaking to me today." If that person called you to begin with, the thanks makes no logical sense. It appears from the text of the email that AUSA Krull contacted DeGrotis first. No evidence provided by the government in the form of affidavit or report says otherwise. If their position were true, the evidence would show it. Yet, they choose to withhold that evidence from Derrel and from this court. Derrel asks the question, why? 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 The government baselessly claims in their August 1st, 2022 discovery letter that the Pied Piper 312 email account was created out of Mr. DeGrotis' concern about sharing an advance copy of his book. Yet, in statements he made to the press after Derrel's motion was filed, DeGrotis indicated nothing about any concern of his requiring a secret email. He does not indicate that he suggested any such email address or pseudonyms were necessary. Even he characterizes the use of a clandestine email account as skullduggery on the part of the government. What kind of slickness is y'all trying to pull? He says that they used a weird email. Obviously, given his response, he didn't ask them to do that. That means that the letter sent to the defense regarding this evidence contained false information. That calls for further discovery. It does not justify the government's suggestion that no one should ask more questions or get answers to the obvious inquiries that this raises. Clearly, the government has decided to shift blame for these inexplicable communications away from AUSA Krull and put it on DeGrotis. Yet, that shift is not supported by DeGrotis himself. Now, United States versus Odd states holding that courts are entitled to expect candor from attorneys representing the United States and reversing convictions where the prosecution failed to correct a material misrepresentation to the trial court. And if any of y'all follow Bongine on Twitter, y'all know she just tweeted yesterday about some cases that were overturned, and two of those clients were hers. So, what is the AUSA? What's the government trying to do? They're trying to get slick. Shout out to Linda Alexander. I bet he done lost more hair behind this, girl. What you done said? They need to take all of his passports before he decides to run. Yeah, well, I don't even think he's going to run now, because, at least not yet, because his attorneys are doing the damn thing. You heard? But yeah, he could run. So I agree with you on that, Peppers. Let me see here. Let me see. All right. So the prosecution has a special duty not to mislead. Now, even if it were true that Demetrius Slovaneski was conjured up in an effort to quell DeGroote's concern about releasing the manuscript of his book 2 months prior to its release, it was not, according to him. There seems to be no plausible explanation for why the bizarre email account would somehow resolve this issue. Yeah, make it make sense. What does a Pied Piper 312 have to do with protecting the security of DeGroote's manuscript? Not a damn thing. Bring that ass, Krull. We're going to see you August 15th, baby. The only way this explanation makes sense is if AUSA Krull believes that by creating Demetria Slovinesky, she would not otherwise have to produce these communications to the defense. Even the current team members of the prosecution seem to be admittedly confused by these communications, noting that their nature and origin are unclear. And they had good reason to be confused, as it violated their own procedures. Now, according to the U.S. Department of Justice U.S. Attorney's Manual, this is one of the rules, stating that any communication by DOJ personnel with the media relating to a pending criminal investigation or case must be approved in advance by the appropriate United States Attorney or Assistant Attorney General. DOJ personnel must report to their designated media representative any contact with a member of the media about a DOJ matter, and if it concerns suspected classified or grand jury subject matter, they must immediately notify a supervisor. Okay? So surely, if the government themselves are perplexed with AUSA Krull's inexplicable surreptitiousness, certainly his request is understandable. If this assistant U.S. attorney, who had contact with every witness in this case, was engaged in improper communications with a potential witness, which Mr. DeGroote was and is, he is part of the chain of custody for the video they want to introduce at trial. So, if this U.S. attorney had any improper communication, then Derrel has every right to know what it is, as it raises the likelihood of improper influence on witnesses. Furthermore, if AUSA Krull did nothing wrong and this was all perfectly legitimate, then why does the government object to the request from the defense to find out if this was approved in advance according to their own procedures? If this was all authorized in advance, they could simply prove that it was, and out and into this. Instead, they chose the option of refuse and stonewall. Derrel asks again the question, why? Why? We want to know. There also seems to be no explanation why the screenshots of the email communications were taken June 2020, but not produced to the defense until more than 2 years later. The government attempts to explain this away by claiming they were first discovered in May of 2022. But this creates more questions than it does answers. If what AUSA Krull did was above water, then why did these communications have to be discovered? Why was the nature and origin unclear? If she got the pre-approval their procedures demand, then why was this not all documented in the proper reports and easily known to everyone? Why was there no transparency within the prosecution team? Why did they only now learn about these emails? Why were these strange emails buried away in Homeland Security investigation records and now in the possession of the government, since it was an AUSA who participated in the communications? Why? These questions require answers. The fact that they exist provides proof that further discovery is needed to determine if an assistant U.S. attorney dealing with every witness in this case was engaging in what she knew to be improper procedures and trying to hide it. If this was all so above board, and according to protocol, then the reports indicating as much should be readily available. But they refused to provide any. Derrel asked the question, why? Let me go to the chat. Let me go to the, what y'all talking about that 50 plus life. What's T? Thanks for pulling up. Too persuasive. Guess who just fell from the like button? Don't hurt at all. Ain't that it? It sure don't hurt you. Let me see. Sir Miguel, what's T? Thank you for pulling up too. Alexis Monet in Living Color TV, thanks for pulling up. Y'all know I appreciate y'all. Ooh, child, they better being legitimate answers and not the hogwash. Come through. Y'all do like Baby's Chase say. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Come on, y'all. Y'all see my numbers. Help me get them up somewhere. You know what's up. Let me see what y'all talking about. I'm trying to see. Shout out to all y'all in the chat, though. All right. Let's get back to this. The government attempts to shift blame away from AUSA Krull by claiming with no affidavit or report or any supporting evidence whatsoever that the email account was created by and at the suggestion of a Homeland Security investigator agent. Okay. Yet, they fail to say what the Homeland Security investigator agent suggested the creation of this email. They fail to say why they should use this snake-ass email or why it was suggested. There is also no identification of what Homeland Security investigator agent suggested such covert communications. If this was done by an agent, then there would be a report of it. All they must do is provide that. Instead, they keep the agent's name secret and provide nothing. Derrel asked the question. Say it with me, y'all. Why? And I'm wondering, is this Homeland Security agent that Molina chick who is MIA, missing, the one that got a promotion? Is she the one that suggested it? And if she is, and Derrel and Nem have already brought her up in the other motion saying that she's missing, where's she at? She didn't withdraw officially from the case. And then y'all try to say, well, Homeland Security suggested it. Why didn't you just say Molina suggested it if she's the Homeland Security agent that y'all mean? And don't try to play no slickness, because that's what it sounds like. All right. It may be because, given the pervasive involvement of the highly inappropriate boss baby text messages, the government does not want to admit that Agent Molina, the government does not want to admit that Agent Molina was part of these communications as well. If not, then just say who it was. They choose to leave it a mystery. Derrel wants to know why. The most unsettling aspect of all of this is that the government is not calling DeGrotus in their case in chief. To them, he's not a material witness to help prove the elements that they must prove. So if they're willing to go to these great lengths of seeming deception for him, there is a need to find out if they did the same for other witnesses in this case. Them saying they did not without any of the above noted agent reports or affidavits provided is woefully insufficient. Without question, Derrel is allowed to attack the government's misconduct in investigating and prosecuting this case, which this evidence directly implicates. Now, United States versus Whitley says, stating the defense is entitled to attack the thoroughness and even the good faith of the investigation. Bowen versus Maynard states, a common tactic of defense lawyers is to discredit the caliber of the investigation or the decision to charge the defendant. Reversing defendant's conviction based on suppression of evidence that would have been discrediting in some degree of the police methods employed in assembling the case against him. So Derrel's attorney is citing law that really refutes what the government is trying to say about, well, we ain't got to. We said it, we said what it was. We said what we said. Y'all good. We'll see y'all in court. Okay. And we know that AUSA Krull acted similarly with Minor 1. We know full immunity was given to witnesses whose, okay, they got a typo in here. We know full immunity was given to witnesses who engaged in unabashed extortion, possession, and distribution of child pornography and admitted sexual activity with minors. We know those witnesses gave evolving, contradictory stories during AUSA Krull's tenure on the case. Yeah, and remember, the government came out with their motion talking about you can't ask of their sexual predisposition. You can't ask about the parents. You can't ask why this one wasn't charged. Yeah, okay. And is this why the parents weren't charged? Is this why Minor 2, aka, what's my girl's name? Lisa Van Allen, possibly wasn't charged? Did Krull make all of these decisions and you was playing around? Who? Derrel's attorney goes on to say, and we know that at least one of the witnesses was represented by disgraced attorney Michael Avenatti, who has been convicted of using deceptive means to obtain what he desired. I'm coming to the chat, y'all. I got to see what y'all talking about. Yeah, Carolyn Marie. Why? We need to know. Huh? Why? All right, that heifer. Come on, ain't that it? We gonna see her on August 15th, though. We all want to know why. Ain't that it? Wow, Bonjean's going to have to drag them to get to the bottom of this. And the good thing about it, 50 Plus Life, this is Derrel's attorney bringing all this heat. But Bonjean is jumping in. She hasn't said this yet for this motion, but it is implied. They are attaching themselves to this compulsion to come up off of this evidence, government. So yeah, Bonjean and them, she might have helped write this. Shoot. Immunity from coercion. Come on. Ooh, ain't that it? Yeah. Ooh, chow. Woo. Where's Armand Wiggins at when you need him? Because he say it best. Let's get back into it. All right. Derrel's attorney goes on. He says, what we do not know is why the government acted the way they did with DeGrotus, and if these inappropriate actions spilled over to more material witnesses. Derrel has a right to the information that allows him to answer these questions. The outline of facts above raises evidentiary questions about whether improper AUSA and agent impacted the interaction with the witnesses. Let me reread that statement. The outline of facts above raises evidentiary questions about whether improper AUSA and agent conduct impacted the interaction with witnesses. Considering the inexplicable facts noted above, it is obviously better to address it now by simply asking the government to provide reports and affidavits than to have to deal with it on appeal. So, do y'all really want to waste the taxpayers' dollars? Let's ask the taxpayers, the potential jurors in this case. All right, let's get to these boss baby texts. Without a single word in an affidavit from AUSA Krull, the government boldly suggests that there is no problem with an assistant assistant U.S. attorney referring to a material witness in a case with a personal nickname, Boss Baby, and using a familiar and non-professional nickname, BB, to communicate with this person. If an assistant U.S. attorney has a personal relationship with a witness, that is an obvious source of bias for the witness. Familiarity with prosecutors creates biases with witnesses in favor of the prosecution. That is why professional relationships are to be maintained. If there is evidence suggesting a relationship with a witness that is outside the bounds of what a professional AUSA does, then any thoughtful person would want to know why this is happening. The fact that it is happening raises the likelihood that the witness is biased based on an inexplicably personal relationship with the AUSA handling her case. When there is identifiable evidence of a source of bias, the defendant is entitled to discovery regarding the details of the relationship that it may create. And remember, in the motion earlier today, the government had the audacity to say, you guys can look into bias when we get to trial. The government need to calm their ass down. Okay? They need to calm down. This new team is just too damn eager to try to get a damn conviction. I don't appreciate it. Okay? The law cannot be clearer. The government's discovery obligation extends to all information pertaining to witness credibility. This attorney states Smith versus Kane, which in essence says finding a Brady violation when the government withheld the notes of an investigator taken from a witness' initial statement that contradicted his later statements. So the government's saying one thing, but the notes is telling it all. Yeah, that's why Derrel and Nem should get all of the evidence they're asking for. United States versus Child states the government has an obligation to disclose prior to trial impeaching evidence and evidence favorable to a defendant. This includes evidence going towards a witness bias. And Derrel is entitled to all the documents material to preparing his defense that assist in uncovering admissible evidence, aiding witness preparation, corroborating testimony, or assisting impeachment and rebuttal. United States versus Gaddis states the government must produce documents and materials that are exculpatory or helpful for impeachment. And like we know, y'all, in their previous motions, Northern District of Illinois was trying to say, if you want to impeach a witness, you got to tell us first what it is you're going to do and what you're going to use to try to impeach the witness. Those motions were done before they even turned over these screenshots of emails and text messages. So they still hadn't decided if they were going to go ahead and turn that shit over. That's what that was. And this court cannot be hoodwinked by the government's insistence that it produced other discovery in this case. It does not cure a Brady or a Gigolo violation. Whew. All right. The government cannot simply declare that there is no problem with government lawyers having pet names for material witnesses without providing any evidence at all why this inexplicable nickname took place. Moreover, is it not strange that the government responds to this motion without even an affidavit from AUSA Krull? If there was a reasonable and innocent explanation for calling a material witness boss baby, they could have provided that in an affidavit. They chose not to. Derrel asked a question. Yeah, why? Professional pregnancy photos of the witness were shared between the witness and a federal agent and a AUSA. This suggests a friendliness and personal relationship that the undersigned have never seen in a federal criminal case. And the undersigned have almost certainly tried more federal criminal cases than the government counsel has. Evidence potential bias on the witness-friendly relationship with the government attorneys and agents must be disclosed. The government has access to AUSA Krull. They can provide her statements responding to this unorthodox conduct, yet they choose not to. Derrel asked the question, why? Why? Derrel has even sent the government a subpoena for AUSA Krull, along with a TUI letter formally requesting that she be produced for trial. The government simply refuses to respond. Derrel asks the question, why? Why does the government not quell this seeming impropriety with a report from Agent Molina about how these photos were exchanged and why anyone could possibly think it was appropriate? Why does the government not quell by providing an affidavit from Angela Krull indicating why she thought that it was appropriate to exchange personal photos with a government witness and refer to her with a non-professional nickname, and the texts from Agent Molina's phone where this photo exchange initiated? All of this evidence is relevant to bias. If everything was done properly here, then the failure to immediately respond with this evidence is hard to comprehend. They have the messages exchanged by AUSA Krull. They have access to Agent Molina and AUSA Krull. Yet, they choose not to provide any evidentiary explanation and instead think they can declare that everything is fine and make it so. Derrel asks the question, why? Let me go to the chat, see what y'all talking about. Where's Sean David Wade when you need him? Because we could get a why remix out of him. You heard? Yeah, exactly. Boss baby up in this piece. Hold on, Papoose. I'm at least glad you're in the chat, Papoose. Papoose said, wait, so are you saying AUSA Krull needs a girl? She just might, Papoose. They say don't ever go to court and represent yourself. They say don't ever walk into a courtroom without an attorney. Okay? She just might. Yeah. Yes. Too Persuasive said they're in an unprecedented amount of unethical behavior on their part. It's clear they're hell-bent on frying this man. Ain't that it? That's what they clear hell-bent on. The government is really trying to flex, and they ain't got no muscle to do it. They ain't got no muscle to do it. Let me see. 2 years later. Let me see. Checking the chat, trying to see what y'all saying. She was real ghetto with that Boss Baby. That's what I'm saying. Boss Baby and Pied Piper 312. Like I said, if these people are white, that already is some racial bias. Because why those nicknames in particular? Yeah. Oh, Lord. Why folk come? Why folk come? About the 50 Plus Life said they think they had it in the bag. They did not expect everyone to reveal the truth. This man was railroaded. Come through. My God, come on. Yes, Lord. All day. Yes. Let me see. Transformation Tiffany, what's up, girl? Thank you for pulling up. I just can't see how they can keep him locked up like this. The lies are in plain view. Ain't that it? You already know. All right. Why were AUSA Krull and Agent Molina having undocumented conversations with this witness? The government does not deny they were undocumented, nor that they happened. Derrel's motion lists a litany of incidents in this case in which every unimportant and scarcely relevant contact between agents and other witnesses were meticulously noted in formal reports. Yet, Molina and Krull did not document the contents of their meetings and calls with the one witness they have for which they have a personal and seemingly intimate nickname, Boss Baby. This witness was treated differently than the others in this case. Derrel asked a question. Yeah. And Derrel has the right to an answer because this is apparent evidence of bias created by the relationship of this witness and the government agent and attorney who met with just about every material witness in this case. United States versus Bernal Obiso states, we expect prosecutors and investigators to take all reasonable measures to safeguard the system against treachery. The failure to document once again violates the government's own procedures of the U.S. Department of Justice U.S. Attorney's Manual. Citing that to avoid the prosecutor becoming a witness, Krull, the prosecutor should interview the witnesses with an agent, and it should be memorialized by the agent while preserving the prosecutor and agent's notes. Noting the government should make broad disclosures of potential impeachment information, including witness bias. I just can't wait to see what the government's going to say about this. If they refute what their own damn standard operating procedure manual states, we don't go by that no more. Oh, they can't say that. The fact that this witness with the oddly personal moniker Boss Baby was treated differently than the other witnesses whose insignificant contact with agents were meticulously documented indicates an apparent source of bias due to the special treatment this witness received from the agent and the AUSA. Where is the government's explanation for why Boss Baby got treated specially? They apparently do not want to give it. They do not want the court to know it. However, because it is evidence supporting a possible source of bias, they are compelled to provide evidence to afford us with an explanation. Their refusal to simply do so may say more than their unsupported and self-serving assertion that whatever AUSA Krull did is perfectly fine. That non-answer response simply raises the question of why this witness got treated differently than the others who had their minor contacts all recorded in formal reports. The problem for the government is that the same witness with the weird pet name or nickname is also the same person whose contacts with agents and prosecutors were handled differently than other witnesses. That suggests an apparent bias to anyone who is paying attention and further raises questions as to Minor 1 has, for years, declined to participate in any investigation prior to her contact with Agent Molina and AUSA Krull. It's Boss Baby, it's all this and that. And now, after 18 years, you ready to testify? Okay. Evidence of apparent bias is a legitimate basis to compel the discovery that Derrel requests. There is no reason to risk a gigolo or Brady violation rather than simply compelling the government to at least present an affidavit from Krull explaining her relationship with Minor 1 and why she thought Boss Baby was an appropriate way to communicate with Minor 1. And why the reports of her contacts with Minor 1 were unreported while the reports of contacts with other witnesses were not. You documented everything else but not Minor 1. Evidence of any other unreported communication Krull may have had with other witnesses, with this witness. This is what Derrel and Nem are saying. You could solve this problem by presenting what they asked for. Evidence of any other reported communications that Krull may have had with these witnesses, and all text conversations between this witness and Molina, including the exchanges regarding the personal photos of the witness. As we know, these must exist, and identification of any other unreported contacts between AUSA Krull or Agent Molina and material witnesses in this case. There is proof of possible bias here. Derrel has presented evidence indicating the appearance of potential bias created by the unusual relationship between Krull and Molina and Minor 1, and that there was potential government misconduct occurring. That more than justifies his request for the disclosure of evidence. If there is a legitimate explanation for what happened here, then the requested 4 items of evidence above will provide it. The fact that the government is going out of its way to avoid simply providing information within its possession that might explain the apparently improper behavior of AUSA Krull gives us even more reason to demand that the requested evidence be turned over at once. The lack of prosecutorial candor, as is exhibited here, is a violation of Derrell's due process, not just because it involves prosecutorial misconduct, but more importantly, because it involves the corruption of the truth-seeking function of the trial process. United States versus Aggers says the government is not so special that its agents and attorneys get to have apparently unorthodox and inappropriate relationships with witnesses, the evidence about which can be intentionally kept from the counsel and the court even after it's requested. Derrell requests are based on evidence he has cited, not conjecture, not speculation. The government's refusal to provide the information is devoid of any evidence whatsoever. The requested disclosures need to be provided in order for the record in this case to be above reproach. Wherefore, Derrel and Nem moves this court to tell the government, come up off that extra. And they are requesting that Krull be compelled to give testimony during the trial of this case. Now, I'm going to scroll down here real quick. And there were some attachments. And so let me see what the chat talking about real quick. And then we're going to get to the subpoena letter. Boy, Derrell's attorney's on point. I just can't see how they can keep him locked up. Come on. Keeping him over here. Let me see. Just doesn't make any sense, and it's really weird. It's super weird. They really try to run. Wait, girl. Let's see. Oh, Papoose, why you coming here with all these big words, girl? I got to break this down. You know what, Papoose? We're just gonna let everybody read and pronounce that word themselves. How about that? See, if you was able to get on the link, you could have pronounced that for us. How about that? Dig that. Absolutely. Let me see. Definitely some shady business. That's not how it goes. New gen authorities watch too many corruption movies. Girl, come on. Transformation, Tiffany, ego, embarrassment, racism. I imagine. There's definitely some racism in there. Let's see, try to throw an anchor in your paper about how it is perfectly normal to have conversation, complimenting a witness about her motherhood, clearly deflection. And not only that, Papoose, but had the audacity to say, we just know she's had a tough time in her life. And so now we're just happy that she's finally in a stage in her life where she's experiencing joy. Come on, y'all. Y'all think they think everybody's a damn idiot. Oh, they think everybody is a fool. Come on. All right. So, here's what the United States Attorney said. Let me see. United States Attorney, blah, blah, blah. Dear counsel, pursuant to this federal rule and protection order that governs discovery in this matter, we are producing with this letter the materials on the enclosed index. Additionally, on Disc 76, when was this letter written? August 1st. Okay. This must be the letter where they actually sent over the email screenshots and whatnot. Because it says, additionally, enclosed on Disc 76 is a folder containing an advanced copy of a book titled Solace, provided by Jim DeGraudis to the government on April 16th, 2019, and the related correspondence. You know what? Derrel and Nem had already intended to call DeGraudis, even though the state wasn't planning on calling DeGraudis. Derrel and Nem were. So this might be how all this came out. Because here, August 1st is when this letter is dated. It says, yeah, we're just sending you the book provided by DeGraudis in PDF format, and also the related correspondence. And that's probably where this boss baby crap came up with the emails and the Piper 312. The email account used for the correspondence was created out of DeGraudis' concern about sharing an advanced copy of this book. The government will not be using this book at trial, nor calling DeGraudis as a witness, rather disclosing out of an abundance of caution. Yeah, quit lying. That's a lie. That's a lie. Now let me see. This is coming from Kenneth Polite Jr., AUSA Criminal Division, United States Department of Justice, up there in Washington, D.C., to whom it may concern. Although it is our position that TUI compliance does not extend to a criminal procedure within in which the United States of America is a party, please accept this letter pursuant to blah, blah, blah. Um, Let me see, as our official request to produce Assistant United States Attorney Angel Krull to testify in the upcoming jury trial in the above referenced matter beginning August 15th of this year. A copy of the subpoena previously emailed to both Krull and assigned AUSAs to this matter is attached. The request for Krull's testimony stems from the recently obtained emails and text messages that are the crux of our motion to compel discovery and our supplemental motion to compel discovery. As the motions and the sealed exhibit demonstrate, AUSA Krull engaged in conduct that was highly improper with not only a potential witness, Jim DeGrotis, but with the central witness in this case, Minor One. For the sake of brevity, and to forego repetitiveness, the motions mentioned above are attached for your review. Our arguments are factual. Assertions contained therein are the basis for the need for Krull's testimony. At trial, Derrel intends to question Krull regarding the following relevant subject matters: the origination of the Boss Baby moniker entered into AUSA Krull's iPhone, when it was entered into the phone, and why Krull began using and referring to Minor One as BB. The existence of any personal relationship between Krull and Minor One that could justify this odd familiarity and information regarding all contacts that Krull had with Minor One. The reason that AUSA Krull insisted on meeting and communicating with Minor One outside of work hours. Also, the subject matter and contents of the 7 phone calls and meetings between Krull, Minor One, that were not memorialized as identified in the supplemental motion to compel. They're also asking the reason 7 phone calls and meetings were not memorialized, the explanation for the pseudonym used to communicate with Jim DeGrotis, the creation of the Pied Piper 312 Gmail account, the reason, and shit, y'all, let's check to see is there a Pied Piper 312 YouTube channel. Okay? Somebody check that real quick. Because you know, if you pull up a Gmail, if you create a Gmail account, you do get a YouTube. Okay? We might find some more discovery. I said the reason and the goals for using this email account that could not have been accomplished using AUSA Krull's assigned Department of Justice email, and the reason no report was prepared regarding these clandestine communications and the creation of the pseudonymous email account. They're also going to ask Krull supervisory knowledge and approval, or lack thereof, of the above referenced communication and the manner in which they were done. How much knowledge did the supervisor know? Did the supervisor approve it, or did they not? Any identities of all government attorneys and agents who knew about the above referenced communications and how they were undertaken? They're also going to ask Krull the name of any and all other witnesses, whether or not the government intends on calling them in their case in chief, with whom Krull communicated in a similar manner as Minor One and Jim DeGrotis, and any and all relevant matters which may arise as a result of AUSA Krull's testimony. On their face, the communications Krull had with the potential witnesses, Jim DeGrotis and an integral witness, Minor One, give the appearance of impropriety. They were odd and unorthodox, to say the least. However, through her testimony, Krull could give the jury an explanation that could shed light on her actions and clear up any misconception these acts might otherwise create. Without her testimony, the jury will simply hear that Minor One was initially reluctant to cooperate with the government. She subsequently developed a personal relationship with Krull, as illustrated by these strange text messages, had several undocumented meetings with Krull, and for the first time in more than 18 years, implicated the defendants. They will also hear, talking about the jury, will also hear that Krull decided to have a surreptitious communications with DeGrotis for an inexplicable reason. They will also be left to ask themselves, if the lead prosecutor was willing to do this with a witness who is purportedly not central to their case, aka DeGrotis, what was she willing to do with witnesses that were more material to her investigation? Or, on the other hand, what did DeGrotus really tell her that is not contained in these communications? AUSA Krull is the only person who can explain any of this. We hope this TUI letter helps you determine whether or not to produce Krull as a witness in our upcoming jury trial. If you have any questions or need further clarification, please feel free to contact me anytime. I hope to hear from you soon as the trial commences in 1 week. Sincerely, Vadim Glossman. Yeah, they are putting the heat to Krull's ass. Okay? They put the heat on that ass. All right? Period. Checking these comments real quick. Then why try to throw an anchor into? Okay, all right. I got you on there. Papoose in the house. What you say? Can you take the fifth again? You know, I don't know. They might could hostile witness him, Papoose, because this has nothing to do with his position as a press, as an employee of the Chicago Sun-Times. They could treat him as a hostile witness and compel that ass to answer the questions. But for DeGrotus to say that even he thought that the communication with the Pied Piper 312 seemed to him to be like some skullduggery, some eerie type, weird typeness, he might be willing to cooperate. And plus it benefits him. He gets to be in the trial of the century and throw anybody under the bus. Shit, it don't matter to him long as he can say, and the book is out now, get it on Amazon. So he's probably willing to do a whole lot of damn talking. But that is a damn good question. Yeah, too persuasive. Yeah. So, I don't know how y'all feel. It's just crazy. Definitely some shady business. That's not how it goes. Absolutely. So I don't know how y'all feel, but here's the next thing. Now, I didn't check Pacer before I came live, so it's not to say that the response isn't in yet. But we still got to see what they gonna say about these videos. Okay? We still got to see. And the tone and the whole overall flow of the government's response to the initial motion, and I covered that earlier today, that was a little arrogant. It had some shade of arrogance in it. So I bet they're rewriting that motion if they're using that same arrogant tone. Like, y'all don't worry about it. As long as the video plays, y'all be good. Y'all be all right. Well, let's see now, especially now that we're getting ready to get Krull up on here. Because, again, who made the damn copies? And now, it seems, if they got this boss baby going on, y'all, and this Pied Piper 312 email, then maybe this is why so many people weren't, maybe this is why so many deals were cut with everybody. Because, listen, the video, I was talking about this with a friend of mine the other day. The video issue that we're waiting on a response from is video 1. If they can't satisfactorily respond to that, and if Judge Harry is really about his business, then they would have to throw that damn video 1 out, which Derrel and Nem said in their motion, it has to be, they can't be allowed to share it. If they throw video 1 out, there's nothing to say with minor 1. They have to throw minor 1 out. And all of the other nickel and dime charges that include minor 1. So count 1 through this and that, it's got minor 1 in it. Count 5 has minor 1 in it. Damn near all the counts have minor 1 in it. So in one of those counts, it's only minor 1, video 1, and minor 2, which to my understanding is your girl Van Allen, who legally by the state of Illinois was of legal age to be bumping grinding. You heard? So then they'd have to throw that out. Now, this is just what I think, but it makes sense. You can't present something to the jury and you don't have the evidence. because it got thrown out. So you have to throw them charges out. So that's why this video response is going to be critical. But we about to find out. You said Natasha Hooper, the Pied Piper, R. Kelly poem. This lady puts out her anguished feelings. Girl, wait a minute, Papoose. Either email me that or the something. I need to know what? Who child loves the channel? Let's see. Yeah. Did anybody get a chance to go see if it was a Pied Piper 312 YouTube? How many subscribers is that? Are they reading emotions? What's tea? So anyway, y'all, be sure to like, share, subscribe. That's it. That is the podcast. Hit that notification bell because when the videos drop, I'm going to come with it. And I don't care who gets to it first. I don't mind being last, but I'm still going to cover it because this shit's out of control and we got to stay up on it. So, like, share, subscribe, replay gang, leave a comment. You know I want to hear from you. And until next time, y'all, we will see ya when we see ya. And thanks again for all y'all pulling up. Welcome to the Only Male Cruise Show, the podcast. I am the only Male Cruise. Be sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe, replay gang, leave a comment. You know I want to hear from you. Copyright disclaimer regarding fair use is in full effect. The views and opinions expressed in this show, you guessed it, they're all